Let me tell you the story of a man who goes to war not only to fight an enemy, but also to confront questions about courage, loyalty, love, and the meaning of sacrifice. For Whom the Bell Tolls is a powerful novel written by Ernest Hemingway and published in 1940. Set during the brutal conflict of the Spanish Civil War, the novel follows a young American volunteer who joins the fight against fascist forces in Spain. It is a story about war, but it is also deeply human, exploring how people struggle to find hope, connection, and purpose in the middle of violence and uncertainty. The story centers on Robert Jordan, an American professor of Spanish who has traveled to Spain to support the Republican side during the Civil War. Robert is an expert in explosives, and his mission is extremely dangerous. He has been assigned to work with a group of guerrilla fighters hiding in the mountains behind enemy lines. His task is to destroy a strategically important bridge at the exact moment when a major Republican offensive begins. If the bridge remains standing, enemy forces will be able to bring reinforcements and stop the attack. When Robert arrives in the mountains, he is guided by an old local man named Anselmo, who strongly supports the Republican cause. Anselmo believes deeply in freedom and justice, but he struggles with the violence of war. He hates killing and wishes there were another way to fight tyranny without taking lives. Despite his moral doubts, he remains loyal to the mission and becomes one of Robert's most trusted allies. Soon Robert meets the rest of the guerrilla group. Their leader is a man named Pablo, who once had a reputation as a brave and fearless fighter. However, the war has changed him. Pablo has become bitter, fearful, and suspicious. He worries that destroying the bridge will bring enemy soldiers into the mountains and lead to the destruction of his group. Because of this fear, he resists Robert's mission and tries to discourage the others from helping. Pablo's partner, Pilar, is the emotional and moral center of the group. Pilar is strong, intelligent, and deeply respected by the fighters. Unlike Pablo, she remains committed to the Republican cause and believes the mission must succeed. She quickly recognizes Robert's courage and determination, and she decides to support him. Among the members of the group is a young woman named María. María has suffered terribly during the war. Her family was murdered by fascist soldiers, and she herself was captured and abused before being rescued by the guerrilla fighters. Because of these experiences, she carries deep emotional scars and struggles with feelings of fear and shame. When Robert first meets María, he sees how fragile she seems, but he also senses a quiet strength inside her. As they spend time together, they begin to form a powerful emotional connection. Their relationship grows quickly, partly because war creates an intense sense that life could end at any moment. Despite the danger surrounding them, Robert and María fall deeply in love. Their love becomes a source of hope and comfort in the midst of violence. For Robert, María represents the possibility of a peaceful future beyond the war. For María, Robert becomes the first person who truly makes her feel safe again. Meanwhile, Robert continues preparing for the mission. He carefully studies the bridge and develops a plan to destroy it using explosives. The timing is critical. The bridge must be destroyed only when the Republican attack begins, otherwise the sacrifice will be pointless. However, tensions within the group continue to grow. Pablo becomes increasingly hostile toward the mission. At one point, he even steals some of Robert's explosives, hoping to sabotage the plan and force everyone to abandon the operation. This betrayal creates anger and frustration among the fighters. Eventually, Pablo disappears, and the group assumes he has deserted them. Although this makes the mission more difficult, Pilar and the others remain determined to continue. During the quiet moments before the attack, the novel explores the inner thoughts of Robert Jordan. He reflects on the meaning of the war and the sacrifices people make for political ideals. Although he believes in the Republican cause, he also recognizes the tragedy of war. He understands that both sides contain people who believe they are fighting for justice. Robert also thinks about death. As someone assigned to such a dangerous mission, he knows that he may not survive. However, he tries to accept this possibility with calm courage. His growing love for María makes the thought of dying more painful, yet it also gives his life deeper meaning. One evening, Pilar tells Robert the story of how the villagers once rose up against fascist leaders in their town. In a powerful and disturbing memory, she describes how the villagers forced the captured fascists to run between two lines of people who beat them with clubs before throwing them off a cliff. The story reveals the dark and violent emotions that war can unleash even in ordinary people. As the day of the attack approaches, tension grows stronger. Robert coordinates with other Republican fighters who will assist in the mission. They prepare their weapons and explosives while waiting for the signal that the offensive has begun. Unexpectedly, Pablo returns. At first, everyone suspects he has come back to betray them again, but Pablo has changed his mind. After thinking about his cowardice and shame, he realizes he cannot abandon the group. He brings several additional fighters with him, increasing their chances of success. Finally, the moment arrives. The Republican offensive begins, and Robert and the guerrilla fighters move into position near the bridge. The operation quickly becomes chaotic, as enemy soldiers appear sooner than expected. Despite the danger, Robert remains focused on his task. Working together with Anselmo, he carefully sets the explosives on the bridge supports. However, tragedy strikes when Anselmo is killed during the operation. His death deeply affects Robert, who had admired the old man's honesty and moral courage. Even with this loss, Robert completes the mission. The explosives detonate, and the bridge collapses in a massive explosion. The strategic objective has been achieved, but the cost is high. Enemy forces quickly arrive in the area, forcing the guerrilla fighters to retreat into the mountains. During the escape, Robert is badly injured when his horse falls on him, breaking his leg. He realizes immediately that he cannot continue traveling with the others. If he slows them down, they will all be captured or killed. Understanding the situation, Robert makes a difficult decision. He tells Maria and the other fighters to continue without him. Maria refuses at first, unwilling to leave the man she loves. But Robert convinces her that she must live and carry their love with her into the future. Their farewell is heartbreaking. Robert promises Maria that as long as she lives, a part of him will live with her. After the group leaves, Robert remains behind with his rifle. His plan is to delay the pursuing enemy soldiers long enough for his friends to escape safely. Alone in the forest, he prepares himself for what he knows will likely be his final battle. As he waits, Robert reflects on his life, his beliefs, and the people he has met during the war. He thinks about Maria, about the bravery of the guerrilla fighters, and about the meaning of sacrifice. The novel ends with Robert lying on the forest floor, watching as enemy soldiers approach. Despite the pain of his injury and the certainty of death, he remains calm and determined. His final act will be to protect the people he cares about. Through Robert Jordan's story, Ernest Hemingway creates a powerful portrait of courage, love, and moral conflict during wartime. The novel does not glorify war. Instead, it shows how war forces people to make impossible choices and confront the fragility of life. The title "For Whom the Bell Tolls" comes from a meditation by the English writer John Donne, which suggests that the death of any person diminishes all humanity. The message reflects the novel's deeper theme. Every life is connected, and every loss matters. Even though the story takes place during a specific historical conflict, its themes remain universal. It reminds readers that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite fear. It also shows that love and compassion can still exist, even in the darkest moments of human history. Because of its emotional depth, vivid characters, and powerful exploration of sacrifice and solidarity, For Whom the Bell Tolls continues to be regarded as one of the greatest war novels ever written.